A convicted child abuser referred to by authorities as Christian B has been declared an official suspect by Portuguese prosecutors investigating the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Prosecutors in Faro, Portugal, have said German authorities had made the move at their request, but did not give the suspect's name. Well, joining me now is Jim Gamble. He's a former senior police officer who assisted in the original investigation. Jim, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. What do you make of this latest move, Jim? It's obviously a step forward, but interestingly, it doesn't mean that this guy is charged. It just means that he is now an official suspect.
Well, that's the key, and I think you've got to look at the two factors around that. It's a significant step. One of the issues is that the clock was ticking, and as you'll know with your background in law, the Portuguese legal framework works to a statute of limitations. Almost unbelievably, that's a 15-year period for even crimes as serious as this. So next week, the 3rd of May, we'll see that 15 years complete. And thereby there was a possibility that they wouldn't have been able to pursue anyone after that date. By naming him as an official suspect and designating him a Guido, they are able to bypass that. And a lot of people are saying, well, is that why they have done it? I think the second issue is the more important one. And that is that I don't think that's why they've done it. I think it's because they have been continuing their investigation. The German police and the German prosecutor have continued theirs. They've shared the information they have, and there is a strong, substantial, circumstantial case against this individual. Of course, they're innocent until proven guilty, but I believe they can put him in proximity to the location the offence took place, and that they can also demonstrate through his own criminal profile that he's exactly the type of character in that place who may have opportunistically taken advantage of a situation.
And Jim, it's very important that we explain to our viewers and listeners the difference in Portuguese law and our own laws here in the UK, because I was really struck by the fact that this week, actually, there was a prosecution and conviction of someone who had murdered a child, Ricky Neve, killed back in 1994, and he was only found guilty just this week. So it's important that we draw out the differences in Portuguese law to the UK law.
Absolutely. The one other thing I would say is UK law, you cannot escape a murder. It wouldn't matter whether it's 20 or 30 years later that we capture DNA evidence that allows us to hold you to account for that. But the law in Portugal, of course, applies to that territory. One of the reasons I don't think it was necessarily just a cynical ploy to continue to bypass that and to extend the time is because the Germans could prosecute him at any time. So I think if the person is guilty, that's for the court to decide. But in order to administer that process, the Germans could quite easily do that by themselves. So there's a number of conflicting issues there. What evidence do the German authorities have that they've shared with the Portuguese, and how, when you put that together with what they have, undoubtedly, alongside what the Metropolitan Police will have collected over the years, what is the missing piece of the jigsaw that makes them now, after all this time, be convinced that this person, who's been on their files since 2011, has a case to answer?
And Jim, you were involved in the original investigation as a senior child protection officer for the UK at the time. 3-year-old Madeleine McCann, she disappeared in May of 2007, as we've indicated. She would be becoming 18 years of age. That's, for me, quite hard to believe, but in some ways not hard to believe because of the passage of time. Do you think that this is something that will bring closure if this man is charged for the family, which has been an incredible journey for them? My goodness, the ups and downs they have faced.
Well, it's been a nightmare for them. I think, the investigation was, I'm on the record as saying I think the investigation was badly handled from the outset. They lost the golden hours, with the forensic opportunities that came with that. They didn't concentrate on clearing the ground beneath their feet, i.e. looking at the parents and making judgments based on evidence about whether they should be investigated, which should be your first line of inquiry. And their collection, collation and analysis of of information and evidence from different parts left a lot to be desired. So, I would say, having been involved in this for the period of time I have, there's no evidence I've seen that would ever implicate Kate and Jerry. There's the myth and the legend and the rumour around DNA, fundamentally, inaccurate. The issues around the car and the dog indicating in a car that wasn't used by the McCanns until 6 weeks after Madeleine had gone missing. So they've been through the nightmare of being under the microscope and within the focus of people's attention who suspected them to have been involved. And of course, they've had to bring up Sean and Amelie over all these years, carrying the heartache that parents of a missing child do. So this could be everything, but Arlene, it could also be nothing. We've been here with false dawns before. But the key to me on this is the circumstantial case. We know between 1995 and 2007, he was living on and off in Praia da Luz. We know that in 2005, he raped an older woman in that vicinity. We know that from the court documents that we've seen that he was involved in burglaries of hotel rooms and apartments. And we know from the cell site analysis that a phone attributed to him places that phone, and we hypothesize him, in direct proximity to the apartment at the time the offence took place. And there's more. So I think he is a really strong potential suspect. But the proof of the pudding will be, do the Portuguese now follow up by applying to extradite him from Germany to Portugal to answer whatever additional questions they have?